Okay, hello. Episode number 6. Am I right? Got
Correct.
it right this time? We are joined today by my brother, actually, Liam. And he's going to introduce himself shortly. But yeah, we're keen to get stuck into another episode with another external guest. Thank you very much, first and foremost, for coming on and supporting us at the grassroots level, Liam.
Cheers, Liam.
Yeah, so why don't we jump into it? Let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Yep, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. As Ree said, I'm lucky enough to be his brother. My name's Liam. I'm a project manager for Pilecom. I've been with Pilecom now for over 5 years. I started in 2018. Sort of grown through the company through the years. I started off operating some of the equipment we own. That's where I got on board, and then just progressed into supervision, site management, and now project management. Experience-wise, I've done over 16 projects now with Pilecom, 16 solar farms, that is. So been busy over the last 5 years, and I'm enjoying what I do. I love the management side of things. It's a whole new set of challenges. We're growing as a company. We're taking on bigger projects, which means more and more people that we're trying to manage and look after. So I think the good thing about the way we started, particularly with myself and some of our core people, was starting things off as an operator. It really helps you to understand what you're actually doing at the base level, and then being able to manage those people. I think they respect the fact more that you've been there and done it, and you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how all of our core team started operating, understanding everything we do, and then moving up, and I think that's a good way to go about things.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, definitely. I think I think that always does work well. I feel when sort of you're learning from, it's almost like a football team, like, you know what I mean? Like some of the best coaches were players. And I think even like ourselves here, even in our team, like, when you started, like, you had to go through all the grassroots stuff, the in the weeds type stuff. And I did that as well. But I guess there is that level of respect there when you understand that your superior or your leader has done what you've done.
100%.
And they're not just pushing you around and telling you what to do. How do you find project management and project management specifically for renewables?
I think it's tough. It's like I said, it was a good way to go about things starting off as an operator, but it's also kind of, we got thrown in the deep end, I guess, as well. And we've just been learning to some degree on the job. So it is a challenge not having, I guess, a project management background or necessarily studying that. But I think because we've taken on jobs slowly and grown, I guess, as the solar industry or the renewable industry has grown, we haven't bitten off more than we can chew, I guess. So we've taken baby steps, haven't taken too big a risks. We've just taken it slowly, which has allowed us to also develop slowly and improve our management skills from job to job. I think obviously we're not perfect, or I'm not perfect at what I do, but I'm trying to improve from job to job. So
I think you're pretty perfect.
Just running the family.
My mum tells me I am. So, but yeah, I think we just try to improve from job to job. We're managing crews of up to 100 plus people these days, so it's definitely hard, but I enjoy it. Like I said, it's a challenge, keeps us busy, and yeah, I'd just like to keep improving and taking on bigger jobs and having more responsibility, I guess.
What are some of those challenges, like dealing with, obviously you just said you're dealing with a lot of people in the team, and I'm sure you guys are dealing with some different types of equipment and technology and everything, and what's kind of the main challenges, I guess, for you?
I think the main challenge for me is the personal side of things and dealing with the people. Having 100 plus people on site, you've got people from different countries, different cultures. They may speak different languages. So you really got to understand how to treat different people. You can't just obviously treat everyone the same. And I think that's something that I originally struggled with, and I'm understanding a bit better now. You can't just come in and treat everyone like they're your mate, or treat someone from one country. There's, everyone's got different values and different ideas and different types of respect between each other. So I think the people side of things is definitely the biggest challenge. Especially, when, like I said, you've got so many different cultures on site, and just the pure volume of people that you're trying to interact with and keep engaged with your pre-starts or whatever it might be. It's definitely tough. And then, the equipment side of thing is also can be quite complicated. We've got a lot of different equipment, a lot of specialized equipment. And with what we do, it's quite harsh and in tough environments. So there's often a lot of breakdowns, and just trying to keep the job moving with the equipment. Everything is based around equipment and personnel and with what we do. So trying to keep the job moving between equipment and people, I think, is the tough job.
I guess another thing, obviously, people won't know about you is you're actually a lawyer as well. So
You Wernleys.
yeah, we're a pretty special breed, man.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
Elite.
that's it.
yeah.
But I did want to touch on that because I was wondering before we move on into a bit more about Pilecom and who you guys are as an organisation and all that. How do you think your qualifications and your studies as a lawyer, has that fed into your role at all?
Definitely has. I think studying any degree at university, kind of, whether it's law or anything else, it develops your problem solving ability and just gives you a different way of thinking about things. So it's definitely helped with that and how I approach situations. And then I guess law in general, obviously we're dealing with contracts and client relationships, so I do have a bit of knowledge there with what to look for and whether we're tendering for a job or just things that come up throughout the course of the job, being able to understand a contract, the terms, what we need to do for practical completion and variation works, and just sticking as closely to that as possible, I think has been a huge plus for me. And I guess it's actually what got me the job at Pilecom, studying law at uni, because I met one of my best mates there, Adam, who also works for Pilecom, is also a project manager. So he's the one that originally got me on board. So without that study, I wouldn't be here today. Shout out to Adam as well.
Yeah, Adam's a great guy, super clever guy as well. And I guess being your bro, we were at uni at pretty similar times, a pretty similar age, and seeing you guys become good mates. You got sworn in. I remember you got sworn in together as lawyers. It's a pretty cool thing, and for you guys to be working together now, it's pretty awesome. Hey,
it is. Yeah, it's good to go through that life together at uni. It was a good life. I do miss it, but
me too.
To be able to follow that up and continue working together has been unreal. And we've obviously developed a close relationship. And there's a bunch of our other friends that also work with Pilecom. We've got a pretty tight knit core team. And we all get along really well, which I think is one of the biggest strengths we have, is that we have a core team who get along together at work, also socialise outside of work, quite a young, energetic team, and we're all keen to learn and grow and all those things. So it's working well.
We speak about that a lot here, just that team culture that's sort of created and how important that is for, enjoying work, learning more about what you do, and ultimately driving success within the company.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And I feel like I feel like it enables you to be really real with each other too. And honest. When you've got that holistic rapport and respect, and I guess that's kind of what you're touching on there, is that you've got like-minded individuals all striving for the same goal, and we've definitely got that here. I mean, we can speak definitely with authority on that within the marketing team, given that's what we do. But there's a lot of that going on in the broader team as well. Yeah. A lot of people who are very clearly marching to the beat of the same drum, and I think that's really, really important for success, and clearly why you guys have grown like you have. And I think that's a pretty good segue into some discussions around Pilecom. Why don't you give us a bit of a background around, who Pilecom are, even prior to your time and moving through to now.
Yep. So now I would class this as a solar mechanical installation contractor. Originally, Pilecom was started in 2011 by Luke and Boyd Cousins. the father-son combo. And then I guess originally it was a equipment sales company. So in the early days, they were trying to sell drill rigs, piling rigs, the equipment we use now. That was the main focus. And then I guess it just kind of progressed into equipment rentals, just to try and diversify what was going on. And then as solar started to become a thing and started to kick off, the equipment rentals kind of moved towards that industry, and then kind of took a step back, I guess, and said, well, why don't we rent our own equipment with our own operators? And then I guess that naturally just progressed in becoming a contractor and performing the works ourselves. And then that pretty much took off around 2017, 2016, a couple of years before I started. Adam was involved then. And then from 2018 onwards, we've really been, I guess, heavily focused on the contracting side of things. And we started off on that side just doing the foundation work. So that's just the pile installation. And then since 2020, we've been doing the full mechanical installation. So that's the foundation work all the way up until installing all the solar panels.
Yeah, far out. It's been.
That's cool.
I know. I guess again, we obviously know each other very well, given we're siblings. But I think seeing the growth in terms of yourself and what Pilecom does is crazy. And it's been like, I'm blown away by sometimes when I see some of the great videos you guys film and things like that, and the photos. How many sort of I mean, what's the terms of speaking, square kilometers of solar farm? How much do you reckon you guys have done now?
Well, it's more, we usually speak in megawatts, the output of the project. So we're around about the 1 gigawatt mark now, which is 1,000 megawatts. It's hard to understand maybe if you're not in the industry, but 100 megawatts generally powers about 30,000 homes. So we're at 1,000 megawatts, 300,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And
then
that's on one. That's not
that's
one.
all.
That's all
The projects
so
we've
far.
done around Australia. Yeah. It's about around the 1 gigawatt mark, and then Australia as a whole is sitting, I think, at like 7.5 gigawatt for utility scale solar, and then nearly 30 gigawatts worth of rooftop plus utility scale.
Wow. So 7. So did you say 7 gigawatts?
7.5.
7.5. So you've done.
We've been involved in
a fair bit of the solar farms.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a nice segue into another one of the questions I had around Australia's movement towards renewables and solar farms. What do you see in the future, for solar farming and things like that?
I think it's going to continue to grow. It's been growing steadily, I guess, since I started. It's a pretty cost-effective way to produce renewable energy. We've got a lot of land, a lot of sun, obviously, and I guess solar in general is cost-effective. Australia and a lot of companies these days, there's a lot of focus on decarbonisation and going carbon neutral. So I think with that in mind, it's just going to continue to grow, and hopefully we can continue to grow with it and continue to be as heavily involved as we have been. WA is really starting to take off now. It was a bit behind when I first started. As you know, I was on the East Coast for a few years there. I moved away in 2019 and managed to come back towards the end of last year. So purely because WA wasn't really getting too involved in the solar side of things as much as the East Coast. Queensland was kind of leading the charge, and there was a lot of regional projects going on over there. But then over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, WA's really started to catch on, particularly in the mining sector. So that's what led to me coming home. And I think, Australia as a whole, and particularly the mining industry, they're going to continue to develop and install solar farms, because that's just the way the world's going.
And why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. We're kind of, like you said, Australia's almost designed for it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Bit of sun here. I'd imagine that it kind of changes, obviously, from site to site and how much area you guys can cover. But when you build one of these solar farms on a site, what roughly, what's like a rough percentage of energy that's going to provide for that site? Does that, you know, like in terms of so you've got the energy farm and everything there. So and that's funneling the energy back into the site.
Yeah, so if it's on a mine site, it's generally put there to either power the mine site itself or to power the camp.
Yep.
So
Yep,
the
okay.
idea behind
Yep.
it on a mine site is to remove the need for generators and burning fossil fuels, I guess.
Yep.
In regional towns, they're generally placed near a substation, and then the solar farm will pump power straight into the grid, which then powers homes in the
Much
nearest
similar to
towns.
rooftop.
Okay.
Much
Yeah,
similar
it's
to
the
rooftop
same
solar.
kind of concept.
Yep.
It just is
It's really powering the whole.
to a larger scale.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's insane. Hey?
I know, that's incredible.
It is. It's such a cool. I mean, I guess you probably see it a little bit differently, given that you're like you've obviously got to do the doing.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a cool industry. What about sort of, I guess, linking you guys to us a little bit in terms of safety and things like that? What's sort of safety like on site, and sort of, you know, what do you have to touch on about that? Obviously, safety is a big part of what we do, and it's almost the reason why we exist at Bentech, and ROX and things like that. What about you guys? What's your sort of attitude towards safety and things?
So I guess, I mean, it's probably the same for most companies, but safety is obviously number one for us, and that's something we pride ourselves on. And when we say it, we truly mean it. With a lot of work going into mining, the mining industry now, it obviously comes with elevated set of standards and expectations, purely because the jobs may be built on or adjacent to a mine site. It's not just like you're in the middle of New South Wales. I mean, it's still a construction site, but it's, you know, a mine site's a bit of a different kettle of fish. So there's a lot of risks involved, obviously, with what we do. We've got a lot of people, a lot of plant and equipment, a lot of high-risk activities. And I think we've always had a high standard in safety. So transitioning from those regional jobs into the mining sector hasn't been a huge issue for us, thankfully, so far. We've managed to keep up with what's required and have our systems in place to get in and be successful. And a lot of that is because of our HSE manager. Shout out to Steve. He's been
Great
with
guy.
us. He's been with us for a few years as well now, and he's really stepped up our HSE systems and our standards and where he wants us to be, and he's pursuing ISO accreditation and all those sorts of things. But yeah, just going back to when I first started, small projects, regional projects, early days of solar. I mean, solar's still in its infancy, I guess, especially in mining, but even overall, it's only been a few years where it's really been booming. But looking back on those days, we would either be managed by our client's HSE advisor, or there would just be very limited HSE presence on site in general. But now we've grown to the point where, you know, we've got our head office in Perth, we've got 2 offices over east, we've got a team of 6 HSE across Australia, managed by Steve. So I think just looking over the last 5 years, to see where we started and where we are now, it's cool to see. It's definitely
Yeah.
cool to see. Yeah, some of the biggest things we deal with is obviously high risk equipment. So I think, yeah, Steve's just gotten to the point where we don't have issues with getting our equipment on site. We don't have issues with getting our people on site. We're all above board. Everything's in line. So yeah, we don't have too many issues there, which is good. And it's not like we're resting on that. Every job, we're not saying, okay, we've pulled off the last one, we're going to be fine in the next one. We treat every job like it's a new one, and we're always looking to improve and innovate. And I think there's a few things that Steve's working on in the background that will help us get there.
That's awesome. Hey, I think safety is so important, and like it's given, like you said, with the mining industry, we're obviously very familiar with that here. Safety is paramount, and I think the mining industry itself takes it to a whole new level in such a great way.
It does.
And I think if you're prepared for the rigors of what safety requires in the mining industry, then you're in good stead to operate anywhere, I feel. Would you agree with that?
100%. And, you know, working on these mine sites, they're often extremely remote, extremely harsh conditions. Like the job we're working on now is up in Marble Bar. hottest place in Australia, so you're dealing with heat, temperatures, high temperatures, dehydration, long swings, FIFO, all these things add up, and I think it's really important to firstly focus on the crew and make sure they're happy and their safety is paramount. All the things, even psychosocial hazards these days are a key focus. So making sure people are happy, they're working away potentially overseas, working away from their homes, maybe interstate, and even if they're from Perth, flying away for 3 weeks at a time and then getting a week off. Obviously, it's a huge lifestyle change for a lot of people. So I think we're doing really well at trying to manage those sorts of things and just being aware of them in general. There's obviously focus and stigma on mental health, so we're just trying to make sure that we're leading the way, I guess, and not forgetting about those important things.
I think that's such a great thing to touch on. Hey, and I guess you yourself, like you said, you spent a lot of time away from home. I mean, I remember during the COVID times, it was a massive struggle for you to come back and see myself and mum and things like that. How do you find personally FIFO and things like that, and working away and being away from your girlfriend as well sometimes?
I think the FIFO lifestyle for me so far has been enjoyable, I would say. I enjoy my job. I enjoy going away to do my job, and I've been lucky enough to work, I guess, quite a friendly swing. I work 2 weeks on, and then 2 weeks in Perth. So for me, it's obviously not to the same level as the difference between 2 weeks and 3 weeks is quite a lot. It doesn't sound like much, but even by the end of my 2 weeks on site, you really start to feel the fatigue and the physically and mentally. So I think those guys and girls that are doing that extra week and then they're only having 1 week off, it definitely adds up. But for me, it was a nice change of pace from the East Coast, where I was working 6 days on and then just having the Sunday off. So
Yeah, wow.
coming from that, working that for the best part of three years or so, it actually has been quite refreshing to me to be able to have 2 weeks in Perth and have 2 full weekends off. And then the 2 weeks I spend working in the office, obviously, is just kind of a 9 to 5 gig. So having that time, comparing that to 6 days a week for the best part of 3 years, as I said, has been a good change.
Yeah.
It is tough, obviously, when you have a partner and for my girlfriend to deal with it, but, it's one of those things.
Yep. It's compromising and working together, right?
Exactly.
What about some of the gear and stuff you guys use? Do you have anything, like, you spoke about innovation and things like that. What can you sort of tell us about that?
Yeah, so I think tying back in again with the remoteness of our jobs, one of the key things that maybe sets us apart from others and why I think we're the leader in what we do is we have obviously specialised equipment and we own all of our own equipment. We have our own fleet. We've got drill rigs, compressors, piling rigs, the Carmix equipment, which you know about it, Reese. It's the mobile batch plants. They're basically big off-road concrete trucks, agitators.
They're pretty cool, hey?
Yeah.
Some of the gear you guys use is amazing.
So yeah, they load themselves. I think you've seen the videos. Maybe put a link in the description of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But just having that equipment in our fleet and being able to go to site and be completely self-sufficient, I think has made us very successful, not only in the regional jobs, but particularly in the mining industry, because if you're on a mine site, you could be any amount of hours from the nearest town. So being able to only require maybe a cement delivery every now and again, and then just being able to batch up on site has made life very easy for us and has allowed us to perform to a high degree. And then the other stuff, the drill rigs, the piling rigs, having all that in our fleet as well, it just allows us to maintain our gear, keep it to a high standard, make sure the servicing's all up to par and we're not going to run into any issues on site. Also with safety, obviously being able to maintain your equipment reduces the risk of it breaking down or having an incident. So we're keen to continue growing and investing in new equipment, not only to continue doing what we do, but also as things change and safety becomes more and more important, we're looking to innovate and implement new things into what we do. One of those things is there's exoskeletons that people are developing now. It's kind of like a backpack.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've seen those. It's almost like a pseudo Iron Man sort of setup.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that Steve's looking at, and we're trying to partner up with some companies that are also looking to invest in reducing the manual handling
all the
hazards
ergonomics and that, eh?
Exactly. So a big portion of our job is obviously installing solar panels, which is pretty much all manual handling once the panels are staged out in the field. Yeah. The job we're working on now, they weigh 34 kilos, so 2 people lift it, and they're installing nearly 1,000 a day. So
wow.
Over the course of, I mean, they're in a team of 5 and they rotate, but it's obviously a lot of manual handling, and when you build that up over the course of 3 weeks, it's a lot of weight they're moving.
Yeah, there's tons they're moving. Hey, isn't it?
So implementing those sorts of things where you might have 2 kilos on your back, but it's going to help you lift, or at least take some of the weight off your joints
and support
your
you
muscles
through that.
and support you.
Might even be cool to try and find some videos in that we can maybe chuck in the descriptions as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Those things are cool, and I think I love to hear the innovation that you guys are moving towards. I mean, we like to think of ourselves as very innovative here. Obviously, with the I mean, you've seen some of the equipment we've got out the back, material processing and things like that. But to hear from another company who's, so aligned with that kind of like that what's next and what's going to make this better and how can we improve, especially from a safety point of view, it's cool. It's a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been a big focus closing out this project we're working on with Fortescue. They also have the same mindset of trying to eliminate as much risk as possible. Obviously, that's the number one goal, to eliminate it. So there's things like the exoskeletons I mentioned, people detection on plant and equipment. So there's a lot of blind spots on the equipment we have. Obviously, drill rigs, even just telehandlers and forklifts, there's a lot of blind spots on them. So having people detectors on those, so you don't have to rely on radios or visual communication. There'd be an alarm that would go off if someone comes within your exclusion zone or your swing radius or whatever it might be. Things like that we're very keen to look into and implement if we can. And then some other smaller things like hydration detectors for people. We do a lot of hydration testing, but obviously it's hard to keep up and not always the most accurate testing unless you get urine samples all the time, which isn't always possible. So, as you were saying, we're keen to innovate and improve.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, we've implemented some of that kind of safety stuff with some of our equipment out there with the forklifts and the cranes, exclusion zones and the LED exclusion zones and things like that.
Yeah, and then on the equipment side, I mean, we've obviously started to partner up with you and try and get some stuff.
Yeah,
made
that's been
up,
cool.
So
that's been cool. You guys picked up one of our workbenches. I'm sure that's really filling a void.
It is. And
they're a great product.
The drill rod storage rack, storage and handling of equipment's obviously a huge one as well. So improving safety around that sort of stuff is also something we're really keen on.
There might even be some more we can do. You never know there with some of the manual handling stuff. We get you get James out on site or something, and you never know. Have a look at some of that stuff, because I mean that's a big way that we eliminate risk and eliminate hazards is through manual handling. Or through the development of manual handling aids and things like that. So that's fantastic. It's been, the work you guys are doing is amazing, and I think the scale is what it still just astounds me sometimes. You know what I mean? Especially given that you're my brother, and I love talking about it. You know what I mean? I'll show the guys the videos and be like, yeah, my brother was the manager of that, and I think that's a really cool thing. You know?
Yeah, it talks you up a bit.
It's good.
Wouldn't be hard, would it?
It's not hard. It's not hard, given that you're like a lawyer, and you're doing these things. You're doing some cool stuff, bro, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's hard for people to understand until they see it. I guess the scale of what goes on. So it is keen if someone hasn't seen a solar farm, definitely jump online have a look at either our website or even just Googling a
Yeah,
solar farm.
Yeah,
It's
we'll link some videos, or we'll do something, and we'll show that in this episode for sure.
yeah.
Because I think understanding, like, you think of solar panels and things on top of roofs, and we've got solar panels all across our roof, and we've offset. You know, going green is something that we're passionate about as well, and we've offset a lot of our power with solar panels on the roof. But you see it like that, but then seeing the scale of, it's like football fields of solar panels, and
That's
like
amazing.
Yeah, and like you say, hundreds of thousands of homes worth of power being generated, in just empty space, like it's Australia.
I find that incredible, just the way that you explain it, and just the judging it by the amount of houses that you're providing energy for with these farms. And I mean, you have a look, just as you're saying, you have a look on your website and have a look at the scale of these farms, but just 30,000 plus homes, it's just like that's just crazy sort of numbers when you put it in that perspective.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I think in total, there's enough solar power to power 2.5 million homes in Australia.
Wow.
These days, so it is pretty
Pretty
substantial.
much WA
And
there.
we're already kind of scratching the surface, aren't we, in terms of what we could be doing?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think over the next 5, 10, 20 years even, a lot of the goals for carbon neutrality are 2050.
Yep.
So there's no reason for it to slow down, and that's good for us and good for everyone else and good for the environment, I guess. It's good to be involved in that sort of thing. It's quite exciting to be part of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's cool to be able to kind of, for us on the podcast to bring you in and chat about these things, because I mean this is stuff that Bentech's passionate about as well, and especially from the safety side of things also, and the renewables as a whole. It's such a hot topic, and it's such an important topic. So it's been cool to align ourselves with that as well, and for you coming on. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of let our viewers know and let myself and Jake know that people might not some interesting stuff you got there?
I guess just the technology side of things. Since I've started, it's quite interesting to see how it's improving and how quickly it improves. We're talking a lot about the size of these farms and the scale of the farms, but it's crazy to see the size of a farm or the capacity of a farm when I first started compared to now. Like the footprint is reduced so significantly, purely because improvements to solar panel technology. I remember in 2019 we built a 250 megawatt solar farm. Well, we were involved in it. It was 1,000 hectares, which is it's 10 kilometers squared.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge,
That's
huge
big.
area.
Yeah.
And I remember every day just driving around that site. Like it would take you 30 plus minutes just to get to where you needed to go.
Yeah.
You're basically in a little town. You got your offices, and then you've got various cribs scattered out in the field, and yeah, it's just crazy to experience that. But then a similar sized farm that we completed last year, the footprint was about half of that, and it had the same capacity. So
Yeah, wow.
the one in 2019 had, I think, 750,000 plus panels and 1,000 hectares, and then the one we did last year was 400,000 panels and 500 hectares or so. So
And that's
Wow.
only over a period of 4 or 5 years, the difference between that.
You can imagine what it
That's
could be like
unbelievable.
by 2050. Hey, like, you know what I mean? Like if at the same time you know what I mean? It's like exponential. If we're doing more solar farms at the same time as that, the footprint required for the same output gets smaller. Like who knows? You know what I mean? The sky's the limit. No pun intended. But I think I think that's such a crazy and cool thing. Hey.
Yeah, and it's crazy to experience, and it like you said, it's cool to see, and it's good for us in a sense, and it's good for companies that are trying to build solar farms, particularly in the mining industry, because one of their biggest hurdles is obviously land use and getting those sorts of agreements in place. So if they need less land to build the same size solar farm, then it's a win-win for them.
Yeah.
But then I guess the counter to that would be bigger solar panels equals more weight, which is why now we're dealing with panels that weigh 35 and sometimes more kilos per module.
Yeah.
They're getting bigger in size. I remember, again, back in the day, you could pick up a solar panel easily with one person. It was, 1.8 by maybe 1 meter. Now they're like 2.3 meters by 1.3. So
Yeah. Okay.
they're just getting ridiculous in size. And output a few years ago on that farm, it might have been a 350 watt or 400 watt panel, and now they're 600 watts and more. So they've increased pretty rapidly. It's like 1.5 times the capacity, and that's pretty much the reason why the footprint's smaller, because the panels are becoming bigger and more efficient. And some of the other technological changes, like bifacial modules, it's a module that's capable of producing power on the front and back side.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, a few years ago, those weren't really that prevalent. It was just a standard module, but now the bifacial obviously has that additional capacity to absorb power on the back.
It's amazing stuff.
It's amazing to see. It's Australia. It really gives a big tick to industry within Australia as well. I mean, that's some pretty amazing results and technological advances in quite a short space of time that you've just spoken about there. And you guys I know you guys do some global projects, or is it still?
No, we're still focused in Australia. We have looked into some international jobs, and we've tendered a few, but with the way things are going now with the mining industry, that's really where our focus is and where we want to stay. I think in the next few years, mining work will pretty much make up 80+% of all of our work. So
Yeah, wow.
there's a whole new set of challenges that come with going overseas, and there's other standards and legislation and
Yep.
and all those
We've got
things.
our backyard to take care of first.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's so much land and so much sun, as I said earlier, in Australia, and I think we just want to continue to grow the solar industry. I think we're 6th globally right now in solar, so it's not too bad when you consider our population. But given the amount of space we have, I think we can continue to grow and do better on that front.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, I think that kind of is a good way to finish off. What about, is there anything you want to ask? Obviously, I know Liam very well, Jake. We do like to wrap things up with a bit of a personal chat.
Yeah.
The information you share with us today is amazing, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, but just the technological advances and the innovation from you guys at Pilecom is incredible. But we do like to kind of wrap things up with a personal chat about who you are, and I think, a lot of your personalities come across, but yeah, like I said, Jake, is there anything you wanted to ask Liam before we wrap things up for today?
I've got a couple. I've got one question I have for you is, who out of you two is the best at sport? Open mic.
Oh, I think it depends on the sport, doesn't it?
Does it?
Does it? Oh,
See,
does it?
because Reese likes
Does
to
it?
bring himself up a little bit, and he's not bad.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've heard some stories that Liam also.
I think Liam's the more natural athlete for sure.
Okay.
I think you've probably got a bad idea of me in your head after our little golf sesh.
Yeah, I
few
didn't
weeks
want to
ago.
bring that up
was,
for you, but that's
That was a bad showing. I'm going to blame a hangover on that, because I also performed terribly. I think it was the next day. I play basketball Monday nights, and it was probably the worst game of basketball I've ever played in my life. So I'm gonna stick to that one. I don't think it was the hangover that.
Yeah. Okay.
Had
All
me in
right.
all
That's
sorts.
that's
I think
fine.
Liam's definitely. I think I'm pretty good at sport. I'm a relatively good athlete, but I would give Liam the nod in that regard.
Okay. Wow.
Reese has got me covered
There you go.
on a few sports.
Yeah. Well, I like that. That's no. That's that's quite.
Hey,
impartial.
respect
That's
where
good. That's
respect's due,
respect. Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I'd like to the same.
Saying
goes
you're
for
better
my
than me at
brothers.
sports, not that's a big thing.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
I think
mean,
we've both got you covered though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look, I don't
oh.
think that's
This
yeah.
guy can move.
I've heard
eh?
you can move pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, quick.
Maybe we can
Straight
settle this
line.
on the table tennis table after.
Oh, we do
Ooh.
have that upstairs.
We might have to go and have a little rip.
Yeah, well, I'm
Why
you know,
not?
you're the one who can make that decision,
Yeah.
boss. So,
Yeah.
no, I mean, we obviously we like to talk about sport and everything on
Yeah,
this, and
absolutely.
I was just, this discussion has gone really well with what you've spoken about today.
Mm.
I think you've spoken awesome on what you guys do and who you are, and provide. I mean, geez, I've heard some pretty cool things today. I've been
so
provided some
have I.
cool insights.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah.
So,
And the thing is, I'm probably going to walk away from this and think, geez, I could have covered so much more, or there were so many things I should have said that I didn't say. There's
always room for
good-
another episode down the line.
That's
you know what I
it.
mean?
That's the good thing about what we do is there's so many things going on, and it's so exciting, and there's it's always changing. So I tried to come in and give a decent insight into what we do, and I hope I did that.
100%,
And
bro.
I think the main thing is just really the fact that we're really getting into the mining side of things, and working with those companies, and having companies like the Rios, the BHPs, and particularly Fortescue have those goals of going carbon neutral, and I guess Fortescue in particular, they really want to go truly carbon neutral by 2030, which means zero fossil fuels, not just offsetting it with solar. They want to power all of their trucks and all of their equipment with renewable energy. So having someone like that leading the charge, and having that as an opportunity for us to continue doing the same thing is really good. And then Australia as a whole, and other companies, other mining companies that are trying to do it by 2030, 2040, 2050, whatever it might be. It's really helping us, obviously, with the business side of things, but also helping us to develop and maybe implement some of these innovations that we talked about, because those companies are keen to change the game as well and help us to do it.
awesome.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've learnt a lot today as well. And I think our viewers will too. And it's again, thanks for coming on, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I think we'll wrap things up there. We'll give you a bit of merch.
Ooh, coffee mug. I don't
Little
mind
Yeti.
that. Little Yeti.
You want a hat too?
I'll take anything I can get, really.
Grab a hat.
I get one of each, surely. I'm your brother.
Yeah, all right. Very cool. Chuck that in there. That's ready for winter.
Ooh, going to Europe shortly.
Well, there you go. Make sure you wear it.
Yeah.
Send us some photos,
Yeah.
I'll have to start charging marketing in Europe.
Oh, a bit of a sponsorship deal.
That's it.
All right, everyone. That wraps up a really, really insightful and fun episode with my brother. Yeah, it's great to have him on. It's great to have started this podcast and have my brother here, and hopefully I appreciate very much what he does. So yeah, hopefully you appreciate a bit of what I do.
It's unreal to see that you've gone into the world of podcasts.
Yeah.
To see also how you've gone about things since you started here has been incredible. And this podcast is really cool. I'm glad you had me on, and I'm glad you're doing it, and I hope it continues to be successful.
I appreciate that, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate that. All right, guys, wrapping up. That's it. Saying goodbye till next time. Yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff,
Share
and
it with the friends.
that's it. Share it with your friends, family. Mum will love it.
Research Pilecom.
Yeah, that's it.
Plenty of links in the description.
Yeah, plenty of links to tune into in the description. But yeah, thanks, guys. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.